Hey guys, what's up? SethC.art.wright here again, and today I'm going to tell you about which indexes I invested in and why. But first, I want to know which brokerage you invest in and why, or if you invest in Vanguard like I do. Comment down below and let me know. I'd just like to hear different preferences and strategies. So researching indexes is not a super easy thing to do, but it's also not super hard at the same time, as long as you have the right resources. In my last video, I mentioned the book Quit Like a Millionaire by Christy Shun and Bryce Leung, which helped me get interested in investing, but also helped me learn how to decide on my own which indexes I want to invest in. It doesn't directly say, these indexes are really great, buy these ones, and these ones really suck, don't invest in these ones. She pretty much explains how to kind of think for yourself. She explains all the terms really well. It's super in depth, like I said in the last video. And by listening to it over and over and over again, I kind of got a really good idea of what I wanted to invest in, what I was looking at. So that's kind of how I got started with that book. That being said, these are the indexes I invested in, all in Vanguard's realm. So there are four main components that helped me decide which indexes to choose. The first being the yield of the stock. The yield of the stock is basically the price of the share compared to the dividend that it pays out. A dividend is literally the company paying you money for investing in them, and it changes very little whether the price of the stock goes up or down. It's essentially thank you pay for investing in them. Since ETFs have dividends, they pay you as well. And from what I've seen, bonds typically have a higher yield than stocks. So as far as Vanguard goes, the two that I have a much higher yield compared to my stocks. And actually, all my stocks only pay quarterly while my bonds pay monthly dividends. And since dividends don't really go up or down with the price of the stock, it's kind of nice to invest in some things like bonds, which give you some dividends back. And you can see those results immediately. But there is a danger in investing in higher yielding shares, which is that over time, you will underperform the market overall. This doesn't mean that you won't get returns and interest in capital gains, but you will underperform the market compared to if you invested in like an S&P 500, which has a medium dividend, medium return rate, and you will underperform the market if you invest in only higher yielding shares, statistically. So a good balance would be to have some shares, and especially bonds, that have a higher yield, and then some shares or bonds which may have a lower yield, but you think will have a higher investment return over time. The second component, the growth of the index over the last 3, 5, and 10 years. Some people may think this is a stupid way to invest, but I'd like to counter that argument with the fact that nobody can really guess what the market's gonna do, so is there really any good way to invest? This isn't professional advice by any means, and I did not learn this from anybody. It's just kind of a common sense way that I kind of thought about investing in things once I poked around and looked around at different indexes. But I figured that if an index is gaining 10% on average return every year, it's not just going to tank all of a sudden. I mean, we can hit a recession, but once it goes back up, I have faith that it's going to be gaining again. So this just seems to me to be a very common sense way to invest and also not overthink things. The third component, which industries and stocks the index is invested in. This is a pretty simple and basic idea, but on Vanguard's website, they show the top 10 companies that the index is invested in and the percentage of each industry it is invested in. For example, these are the top 10 holdings for the Vanguard S&P 500 ETF, and what percentage of each sector it is invested in. You can go on Vanguard's website even without an account and check out their ETFs and indexes by searching in the search bar. And similar like in the last video, if you didn't see it, the easiest way to do this is to go to their website, click on the Personal Investors option, then go to the Investing tab and click on Vanguard ETFs. Then click on the option to browse a list of Vanguard ETFs. Once you're there, you can also switch over to look at Vanguard mutual funds by locating and clicking on the tab for mutual funds. Every ETF index has this information on Vanguard's website. Also, if you know the ticker marker, like Vanguard's S&P 500 is VOO, you can also type in VOO into the search bar and it will automatically come up with the index. The fourth component is diversification. In the book Quit Like a Millionaire, Christy Shun mentions home country bias, which is essentially overemphasizing investing in your own country. Although this might be worse off with countries outside the US, it's still not as good just doing it in the US. America makes up a huge portion of the stock market. I think I've heard somewhere between 30 and 50%. I'm going to go with the lower and say around 30% of the market. But that means that there's 70% of the market still out there that I'm not investing in. So investing only in America doesn't seem exactly the smartest to me. So this is why I invested not only in US stocks, but also in international stocks. Then I chose bonds to help create a more stable portfolio. I've noticed that when stocks are going up, bonds are kind of going down and vice versa. So I think between stocks and bonds, they balance out pretty well. Then I decided that if I had 2 really good ETFs for each section, US stocks, international stocks, and bonds, that my portfolio would be pretty diversified and at the same time pretty stable. So that's how I decided to invest in what I invested in. My stocks are pretty broad, yet have performed well in the past, and between all of them I have a pretty good yield between my stocks and my bonds. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you learned something, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to subscribe and help me in my journey to 1,000 subscribers, please do. I will have upcoming videos as well. I'm pretty open to making quite a few different videos, so if you want to see something explained more, have questions, comment down below. If you want to see more in-depth stuff about the exact ETFs that I've chose, because I know I mentioned them, but I haven't gone in depth about them, please comment below. I can make a video about the specific ones I chose. And again, tell me what brokerage you invest in and why. I'd like to know. Until next time, thanks for watching.